Welcome to the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm your host, Ed Smith, along with Justin tonight, or a two-man booth, a little different as we look back upon week 6 and then look ahead to week 7. We started off with all the buys this week. So in these leagues, it seems like the player pool on waivers has gotten awful thin. And it's kind of amazing what happens when you go from 32 teams down to 28 teams this week. And so what happens to even the high scores, I find that they've come down a good bit. If you guys would take a chance and go hit the like button, the subscribe button, that really helps us out, helps the algorithms. And also ask any questions in the comments or just post how crazy we are. I mean, we are a clown show. So, feel free to put that down. We're going to start off the show tonight just kind of talking about the week that was and some of the items that happened. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Justin in here as we kind of go through some of the injuries and some of the things and try to get some of his knowledge of just kind of around the league and some of the things that have been happening. And so I think we'll start out west and Hollywood Brown. Do you have any idea anything on Hollywood Brown or what's happening with his foot injury? I think it was a foot injury.
Yes, the nothing's I have heard that has been too specific on it. Like they saw after the game, he was in the walking boot, and they first came out and said X-rays were negative, and then Monday they came out and possibly looking at a season-ending foot surgery for him, and it sent everybody in a stir. I know in some of my leagues, I saw a bunch of trades and people already starting to scurry around with that. And but it came out later in the day. It looks like 6 to 9 weeks that he's going to be out now.
So that'll be like week 12 when it's all said and done. So I guess that's
hmm
even on the short end of that stick. So sounds like it's a good time for D Hop to come back and then I have here on my list that Robbie Anderson, after getting into a fight with the coaches on the sideline, got shipped off. And one of my observations over the last several years, Robbie Anderson is the kind of player that's very streaky, but I call him fantasy Santa Claus because he does nothing until the month of December. And then if you look at him, he all of a sudden takes off in the month of December. And this feels like this is just kind of taken off that way. Like he's going to get acclimated in October in Arizona. And then about Thanksgiving, he'll be very acclimated and he'll have that normal Robbie Anderson 120-yard receiving day with 3 touchdowns or some shenanigans because he is a downfield threat. And that's kind of where Kyler's strength is. So just kind of keep an eye on Robbie Anderson as you have a chance to pick him up. Now, I wouldn't go trade the farm for him, but if you can get him as a free square, is just kind of grabbing. He's a little bit older, but somebody to maybe kind of. It looks like it's opening up for him, before Hollywood comes back, and D Hop will be an underneath guy, so it'll just kind of work out for him to be a deep threat. So that's just kind of one hot take, I guess. I try not to give you guys too many hot takes, but Fantasy Santa, I think, is somebody to definitely consider there. Looking at the quarterbacks, you guys all know that I'm a quarterback centric person, but we had Carson Wentz get hurt, and so what are you hearing, Justin, on Carson Wentz and his replacements?
Looks like 6 weeks with the broken finger. Going to be having surgery Thursday. I read so possibly 6 weeks as of Thursday. This coming Thursday, he'll be out. So there is Tyler Heineke. Of course, some of you might remember him from a couple years ago where he was a starter there. Put up some decent numbers, had a decent relationship in targeting the old wide receiver there, and it looks like it's either going to be him or Sam Howell, the rookie. Um, I think it's going to be Heineke to start off with, and maybe they'll try to see what Sam Howell has uh, as he's going to be probably might get placed in there depending on how Heineke does. So we'll just have to wait and see on that quarterback until
I,
Wednesday.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be Heineke at the beginning, and just last year, just recently, beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So not too long ago, Heineke was getting playoff wins, and it feels like a long time ago when Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt in Game 1, but that was just last year when Heineke took over. So real recent, even though it seems like a long time ago. And so I get that. I'm gonna jump back to the quarterbacks, but I wondered, and I'm kind of catching you just off the cuff here. Did you hear anything on the Devontae Parker screaming at the coaches on the sideline, getting into the same Robbie Anderson type fight with New England coaches? That happened, and then the media's quieted down about that in the last couple of days, and I didn't hear anything.
Unfortunately, I did not hear about
Okay.
that.
I just, as I was thinking about Robbie Anderson getting into a fight, I thought, Devontae Parker got into an equally crazy fight where the coaches were restraining him and he was ready to hit I don't know, I don't think it was one of the offensive coordinators, but it was somebody else. And anyway, there was about another fight on the sideline in the New England game. And that kind of transitions me. Bailey Zappi this week, or are we back to Mac Jones? And there's a little bit of a call for Bailey Zappi to keep the job over Mac Jones, I think. So are you hearing anything there? I just heard that today. So
not concrete and not to my knowledge. I think it will be another week of Bailey Zappi with Mac Jones. This will be he's gone through 3 weeks being off, resting his ankle. So it's borderline whether or not he's ready. I say give him another week. What can it hurt? And see how Mac Jones comes back. If they're not, uh, if they don't like what they see from Mac, maybe they can jump back on the Bailey train and ride it into the playoffs or something because he's been doing very well for himself as a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. I was just checking. So Mac Jones's last start was week 3. Then we had Brian Hoyer for week 4, and now this will be, if Zappi starts this week, it'll be his 3rd week of starting. So, week 7. So that's kind of what we have there. Kenny Pickett, any news on him? I think I may have heard that he might return this week if we can get through protocol, but I haven't. Here on the East Coast, I feel like there's East Coast media, and the nice thing about Justin is he's kind of the Midwest, and I think the media talks differently in different parts of the country. So I'm always anxious to hear what's happening in that part of the country. But what are you hearing about Kenny Pickett / Mitch Trubisky?
I think I've been hearing Kenny Pickett is for sure going to be out this week.
Okay.
From what I'm hearing is they do not want to have pretty much another Tua situation, possibly having another concussion within a few days. But I think with him it'll be more like a week, just like another player that had a big concussion this week is Cameron Brate. It looks like he'll be out too because his is 2 within 2-week period.
And what about in Carolina? What about the PJ Walker versus Jacob Eason versus Sam Darnold? I mean, I guess I'm hearing all kinds of things about all that whole mess. And
PJ Walker apparently injured his neck, and there's nothing that's been published or said anything other than that. There has been talks of Baker Mayfield walking without his boot already. So I don't think they were going to try to go back with Baker Mayfield. I think that ship has sailed, and it can pretty much be grumpy on the sidelines, in my opinion. But I think it's going to be either Jacob Eason or Sam Darnold. My thinking is if Sam Darnold is ready, it'll be Sam. If not, it's Jacob.
What are you hearing on the Justin Fields situation? And I mean that was Thursday night that injury occurred, and so I always find that nothing comes out until Wednesdays, and so until that first injury report, and then everybody remembers, oh man, there was a problem back there on Thursday, and but I haven't heard a thing about Justin Fields, and that
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, I haven't heard anything on Fields either. I think he messed up his shoulder. Yes, and re-aggravated his shoulder during the Thursday night game is what I just read, and I think he'll be okay unless it's hurting during pregame. Then they might go with Trevor Siemian, which that's a little bit of a downgrade there, I believe. But I think they're going to still let Fields go, but maybe not run him so much.
Okay, yeah, go more with the running game.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything on the final quarterback scenario that looks like it's a little bit up in the air is the Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. Are we expecting Winston to return, or is Dalton going to keep the job, or Winston still hurt? Do you know anything?
Well, I read that Dalton's questionable right now with a possible injury, and so who's next? Is Winston ready to go? I mean, he has the fractured disc in his back. I don't think he's ready. So the only other receiver, quarterback there, I believe, would be the tight end. I'm drawing a blank.
Well, they have Taysom Hill, but I also brought in somebody. I'll have to look it up on the practice squad, but they did bring in a journeyman quarterback to be there as well. So they have another quarterback that was officially brought up to be the backup last week. I had heard somewhere, in just kind of some rumblings that maybe Andy would keep the job when Jameis was ready. And then there's the other situation that, and not to be racially motivated here on our show, but that Michael Thomas would maybe not play for a certain ethnic style quarterback. And that's one of the reasons that he's not playing, is that kind of coincidentally that he stopped playing in week number 3. And that was Jameis's last run. And if you've noticed that whenever Taysom Hill has also been a quarterback, Michael Thomas has never played, and that kind of feels like it is on the heels of he and Drew Brees getting into a heated argument, and then him not playing ever again under Drew Brees that year. So, I mean, it might be interesting that we see that he's only played under Jameis, or with Jameis around. And so when I heard that, just with talking to one of the beat reporters, I was like, wow, okay, there might be more to this than and so there's some hurt there maybe, but not speculating on that scenario, but just kind of repeating what one beat reporter that covers the team thought may be a leading factor to why we don't see Michael Thomas on certain given weeks and why we see him on others. Don't know if it's really the case, but it was sure compelling if it is a scenario that plays out that way. And I guess I just always say, so I try not to get too caught up in any of those kind of things, but maybe just kind of observe that, it's a good thing to just kind of watch, and does it correspond or not, oh, it definitely is, or have some firm opinion, but just kind of watch and be observant of those types of things, because they can give you clues. We're going to touch on a lineup I built, and so sometimes there's clues that you can kind of get an idea ahead of time, which will help you be successful. So that's kind of the quarterbacks, and we're in the heart of the bye week season and in the quarterback injury season, and so kind of interesting. before we kind of get off the injury front, it's not really an injury that happened recently, but it's a return from injury, and that's Brian Robinson. And I know you had him on your list for today, Justin. So I wanted to kind of give you the floor on Brian Robinson and his role in maybe the Commander offense.
Well, in the game that we saw Thursday, he was the feature back. Dramatically outsnapped Gibson. And of course, I have a few shares of Gibson, probably along with quite a bit of our listeners out here. So I believe it was Monday yesterday that the Monday the head coach came out and said he wants to see more of Gibson. So I think there will be closer to like a 60-40, 70-30 split in between there, kind of giving him as a change of pace back. But I think they gave him all the touches to see what he can do to be a featured back. Which I'm thinking probably within the next year or so they'll either trade Gibson away or just let him go to free agency. So we'll have to wait and see on how that pans out.
Yeah, I totally agree with that synopsis, I think. So, we'll kind of get an idea as we go here of what that looks like. I want to transition our conversation to the Beat the Clown night. And this week, this didn't happen. I put in the my lineup and opened up the contest, and then once the game started, I got refunded all my money. So I'm kind of perplexed about what happened exactly, but can say that we redid things. And so this week, if you want to beat the clown, definitely can come on there and be part of, clicking on the link, and we'll try to get it. It's on the Discord currently, but you can jump in on each of our chat boards and also on the link there as that gets posted here in the next couple of days, and just jump in, and the first 10 people get to beat the clown. It might not have been the best week to beat me, however, but I don't play the Monday night slate, but I just want to kind of show you guys a picture of my Monday night. And if you notice here, I play $20, and I do this on every single slate. So this is the exact GPPs I play. I play a $3, a $5, and a $12. And this is one of my good ones. I mean, I feel like I put 20 in and have 1150 coming back the other way. And as I just kind of outlined this build, it's very chalky. For Sunday night, if you remember, we had Jalen Hurts. He was one of the top quarterbacks on the board, or I think he was the top quarterback on the board on the slate. So I didn't get real creative. I have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. So again, not very much creativity with Miles Sanders and Austin Eckler. I mean, I was just going so chalky. But where I kind of ventured off was I went real cheap with Murray. And Murray didn't get tons of points, but he was so little owned that this is why this made a lot of sense. And the reason that I chose him was I thought that he ran well. I watched that London game, and I'm like, wow, he has burst. I mean, like, he was really better than Mark Ingram. I mean, visibly better. And I'm like, I did a little digging, and the Saints wanted to keep him. They made a mistake by pushing him down to the practice squad. They were going to bring him up and sign him. But in the meantime, Denver swooped in and signed him. So it was kind of like, they tried to play a game with the 53 and got burned, is really what happened with the Saints. So they didn't want to lose him. It wasn't like they're just willing to let him go. So I kind of gathered all that information. And then I also was debating last night on Dulcich, on Parnum, or McKitty. I could have put, or Sauerbaugh. I could have put any of those low-end tight ends in here. And the reason I went with Dulcich was I thought that he was going to be a prominent person. And he was actually, I think, number 3 in snap share, or targets run, or routes run last night. So on the team. So we went Sutton, Judy, Dulcich, were how it went in order last night. So as you can see, I faded because I thought that, you know what, I'm going to fade Williams because he's got a great corner, and I'm going to just fade Cortland Sutton because, you know what, I just have to go cheaper. I just had to go cheaper. So I was able to fit everybody in and keep Eckler in. And so that's what made this lineup. So I just kind of wanted to share this one. I found that I've had two of these last year where I knocked down two tournaments about in this kind of same range, a third and a fourth. I think I was a fifth and a sixth last year. So about the same idea. And that's what this is. So, hey, third and fourth out of, a couple thousand. I'm pretty proud of this one, but wanted to kind of share that with each of you guys and just kind of show you what that is. And so then for the Clownhead tournament, and want to just promote this, we had 8 of us in here this week, and our top place was the Riverbed DP number 7. He had a 157.56, and his starters for the main slate, and if you guys kind of think back to the main slate, his starters were Josh Allen at quarterback, Ramondre Stevens and at running back, Eno Benjamin, Stephon Diggs, Godwin, Duvernay, Njoku, Deion Jackson, and the Saints defense. So, he kind of went with a lot of chalk stuff. I actually liked Evans better than Godwin, but Godwin was a better play. And then he was just with Duvernay and didn't score a ton of points, but he got to his 157 and knocked the rest of us out. Number 2 was GJ L. Reed with a 144.56, and I came in a second week in a row with the 3 spot Fantasy Clown at 133.46. So that's where our top 3 were. So I want to encourage you guys to come in and get your share of the money. And obviously, the more people we have in, the more those top 3 get paid. So jump in, go head to head against me, take my money, make me shut up, man. If you guys don't want to hear me brag about how great I am at knocking out tournaments, maybe you just come in and beat me. That would handle that right away. So just want to encourage everybody to do that. Jumping into the Elite 8, and I had this question come across the board, and so I just want to just reiterate it real fast. Top 2 teams in each division of the Elite 8 are going to advance to the big playoffs in Week 15. Now, in the small divisional playoffs, those 2 teams would have a bye Week 15, so they'll only play against their one matchup out in the big large pool that week. And then the winners of that large pool will play in Week 16, and those teams from the Week 15 that advance up to the large pool will play back in their division at the same time on Week 16. So even if they lost, they'll still have the matchup in the division. And if they won, they'll have 2 matchups, one in the big, large division and one in their own smaller division going on at the same time. So hopefully that clears that up. But I just wanted to mention kind of the format of how that'll be. And we'll allow the matchups for you to be able to see the team that you're playing if you're in the large pool. So we'll orchestrate a way for you to get in and watch that bracket unfold in real time, and like who they're starting and who they're not. You'll be able to see it kind of with some visual powers to be able to see that. So we'll orchestrate that for you as well. Looking at the top scorers for the Elite 8 this week, Division A, P-Jags with a 268.87. And you'll notice that these scores have fallen a little bit with Week 6 and the buys. 5-1 record. And it looks like Brad had him picked to be in the top 2 spots. And he's number 3 overall. So, currently in the 3rd spot. Division B, Mucho, 261.75, 5-1 record. Justin and Brad had him picked to be in their top 2 and number 1 overall. In Division C, we're going to come back to this and highlight this in greater detail, but the Draft Guru with our top score in the Elite 8, 294.01, so we're not over 300 this week, and a 6-0 record. Justin and I both had him in our top 2 and 1st overall. Division D, ZBM 7, a 260.26, 4-2 record. None of us had him in the top 2, so no respect coming from us. 3rd place overall. Division E, Nico 180 with a 284.79. a 2-4 record overall. Thought that was interesting. And the number 8 seed coming over strong in week 6. So maybe making a move here in week 6, starting off the season 1-4 and moving to 2-4. Turkleton in Division F with a 247.47, 6-0 record overall. And Justin, Brad, and I all had him in our top 2, and he's number 1 overall. In Division G, Miley R, 0568 with a 256.40, a 2-4 record again, and number 8 overall. So again, making a move there, and none of us had Miley in our top 2. And then Division H, Mystical Child, 291.25, a 4-2 record, and Brad and I had Mystical Child in our top 2 and number 2 overall. And so we'll highlight the Draft Guru, Division C, that 6-0 record. Both Justin and I, really thought a lot of the Draft Guru and his team, and number 1 overall. So it seems like he's off and running, and he's been in this spot before. So really trying to make his move, I think, in general, here. So I know we both have a lot of respect for what the Draft Guru is building, right, Justin? I mean, I feel like that's
Oh yeah.
What's happening there. So looking at the Clownheads 1 through 5, their point scores, we have Clownheads 1, River AD 217.21. And you notice these scores are a lot lower, I feel like. 3-3 record overall, and number 6. So the final playoff seed there currently in Clownhead 1. Clownhead 2, the Big Behemoth, 226.22, a 5-1 record, number 2 overall. Clownheads 3, Jack Powers, 262.68, a 6-0 record. I actually had Jack in my top 2, and he's number 1 overall. Clownheads 4 is Jack Powers again, 262.93. So if you notice there, about 20.25 different, in this scores. So must have the same players. But number 1 overall, 5-1 record, and that was our top scorer just by a fraction over himself. So he kind of beat himself out for the top spot there overall. And then in Clownheads 5, Kerwin 17, 259.78, and a 4-2 record, number 3 overall. And Brad and I had Kerwin in our top 2 spots. And I guess as I reflect on this, it looks like Jack is just running away with a couple of these, and Clownheads 3 and 4, and then I guess Justin, Brad, and I are all in Clownheads 5 together. So all of us are in that, and we're not anywhere to be found here on the list. So I guess we're all building for something, or I don't know what we're doing. I was looking, and I think I lost all my Clownheads leagues this week. So I was totally defeated in every single league. So that's a total of 8 leagues that I lost every single one. I'm 0-8 for 2 weeks in a row now that's happened. So just kind of, how did you do in the Clownhead leagues this week, Justin? I didn't look.
Not very good. Not very good at all. I think I might have picked up 1 or 2 wins this past week in any of them. As I'm scanning over, I won by barely in Clownheads 2 against KCMO Chiefs from our first win of the year. And see Clownheads 4 and 5, I lost both of those.
Gotcha. Now, I played Brad in a league that we're both part of. Neither of us are a commissioner. We're just kind of part of it. It's a long-term league. I think we've both been in since 2020. So this is our 3rd year. And Brad beat me pretty handily, 90-something to 60-something. I think I have 4 first-round picks. So 12-team league, I've got 4 first-round picks. So I'm definitely a building for the future type guy. And I have Brad's pick. So I'm not sure how I accomplished that off, but that's there. Just to run through quick, the Clownheads redraft 1, River AD 9-8, 2-4 record overall, number 9 seed, so not even in the playoffs. And Clownheads redraft 2, Hurricane Zion, 3-3 record, number 7, also out of the playoffs currently, are the top scorers there. So I think it's really, the scores are lower. Some observations that I have, I feel like the scores are lower this week, and depth is king. And where I thought I had some depth, I don't have depth, and so it'll be anxious. I'll be anxious to see how this week and the week 7 buys come into play. I'm going to bring up some trades that we have on the docket just to kind of get an idea of what we what we're seeing out there in the market, as we speak, and we'll just kind of touch on these trades. And Justin, of course, was out scouring all the trades that he could find, and so he's chosen 3, and so I actually am part of this one, and this one went down today, and so I always enjoy kind of hearing maybe Justin's thoughts on it, and then maybe we'll see. Yeah, so I'll let you. What did you think when you saw this trade at the beginning, and yeah.
Well, so I thought, why did you make this trade?
Okay.
I would not have traded either one of those people, uh, Michael Pittman or Travis Etienne, for that group of people. So you pretty much, I kind of broke it down as Pittman for 2 first rounds, and Traylon Burks in the 2023 first rounder, and then ETN back in first round, beginning of second round for Rashid White, and then a fourth rounder and Cade Oten for ETN. I thought if you would have broken this up, I think you probably would have gotten more for Travis Etienne. Um, but I would not have done this trade.
So I think context is important, and that's why so two thoughts on just your comments
Yeah.
and why maybe I guess I always enjoy the why behind it more than the trade itself. And I think that it's important. People will look at a trade and they'll think one thing, and maybe the other owner thinks another thing. And I'm going to preface all my comments to say that people that want to get good deals from me, perceived good deals from me, if they take receivers from me, I tend to value receivers less. I've found that people will tell me that, oh man, I would have never given up receivers for that. Now, part of the reason I did here is twofold. So the twofold is I'm 1-11, so this plays against a median. Another thing that's outside of my comfort level is an IDP league with a ton of IDP, 2, 4, 6, 8 different starters on IDP. So I've got 8 defensive starters going here. I've got some fun people like Sauce Gardner. I've got some fun people on my team that I guess I call fun. I don't know if they're any good. Trevon Walker, I don't know if he's any good, but at least I have him. AJ Terrell. I mean, I feel like Jonathan Allen, Kyle Van Noy. I've got some fun defensive guys, but we start 2 receivers, 3 flex on this team. And I was looking here and saying, okay, what do I have? And by trading away Pittman, is he really? So when I start 2 receivers, I'm thinking, okay, I want to have 2 receivers that are in the top 15 if we're starting 24. And while Pittman could be at the end of that top 15, in my mind, he probably will never be a top 5 receiver unless quarterback changes there. And then I go to the coaching and say, you know what, Frank Wright will never let him be a top 5 receiver because he'll always throw to a tight end in the end zone because he just does. Like, he just is an annoyance in my world. So, okay, so I'm going to know that 25-year-old kid, and he's good, but I can live without him if I get enough coming back or enough darts. ETN was tough for me to give up, honestly. And the guy, I had made him a counter effort, and he's like, well, let's do that. And the counter effort didn't include Rashad White. And I got to thinking, no. If I'm going to give up ETN, I'm at least going to get a dart throw with Rashad White in the deal. Like, I'm at least going to have something where I can throw my dart and have something that I think could be the same thing if everything goes right. And I don't want to limit myself. So I looked at it more as two guys that are going to be middle of the pack, possibly, of back end RB1, mid RB2 receiver, right? For 4 guys. And in the first round with that pick, I now have 3. So I have 25% of the first round. Now, I don't know what that pick will be. By making this guy better, this isn't the guy I traded with. So that's going to force the guy that's in third place down a little bit, probably because he won't be able to catch the guy in first place, which I made the trade with. So, like, well, at least now I have a better pick, kind of working myself. But I do have three. And then at receiver, I'm a little concerned because I got rid of one of my younger guys, and I have Terry McLaurin and Deontay Johnson and Hollywood Brown. And remember, I'm 1-11, so I don't care that Hollywood Brown's out. Like, it doesn't matter to me. And so I'm just kind of looking at the team. And then I have Jameson Williams and then Jahan Dotson. And so I feel like, okay, I've got some youth there that I have a lot of darts now. So I don't know which of those are going to be my two. I really don't. I don't know which of those are going to be my two. But in my mind, I went from, and at the very minimum, I'm going to be able to get a good receiver out of the back end of the first round of 2023, or move that into a couple receivers if I trade it back for two future picks. So I guess I felt like, okay, I have increasing value. So that was my theory behind the trade. I think the Polish Prince guy, I think he actually thinks that I ripped him off, and I'm not sure that I did. It's kind of funny that he kind of was hedging and not wanting to make the deal, and I just kind of stood firm, like, it's cool. I'll just stay with ETN because I don't have that much of him, and I'll just keep it. And then you didn't like it, and I asked another friend, and he didn't like the trade either. So it must not be slanted too much for me. So I think that's pretty funny. I beat that up enough now. We're going to look at the next trade, which was in the was this in the Elite Eight, or was this in one of the Clownhead series?
I believe this one in the Clownhead series.
Okay, yeah, would be. So what are your thoughts initially, and then I'll jump in with mine.
Initially, I thought this was fairly okay. Tyler Higbee, I think, the best player in this trade here. Albert O has been pushed down the depth chart dramatically since Dolch came back. With Brandon Ayuk, he's maybe once every 5 or 6 games he'll have a 60, 80-yard, maybe plus night with a touchdown, maybe a little more, and then at 24-second. So I'm pretty much threw Albert O out of the trade, and did Ayuk and the draft pick for Higbee in the 2024. So I thought I liked the side with the Higbee, receiving Higbee much more than the other side.
So I'm going to be a devil's advocate, I think. I like the other side, but I think I come to it almost the same way you do, which is interesting. And it's close. I would understand. And I should qualify this, that this league is a 3-point tight end premium PPR with 2 tight ends starting. So tight ends matter. Higbee matters. Like, it does really matter. I come down to, I throw out Alberto as well. I think he was overhyped, and I don't even know in a 2 tight end league if he can start it. Like, it's almost feels like I'd rather start anybody else almost than him. I mean, almost he's a number 2, and I don't know, it's just number 2 for the Broncos. So I probably like Ayuk more than you, and that's kind of funny after I said I don't like receivers. I do. I think, but I also agree that maybe it is every couple of weeks. I guess I was thinking when you were saying that about Ayuk, well, that feels like that's the same thing with Higbee. Higbee's once every couple of weeks too. But, both of these guys are system over players with the exception of Cooper Kupp on the Rams. But I think the rest of them are all system over players, and they just 49ers, Rams, they just feed the system. And if you run the routes and if it's your turn, they get you the ball. And if it's not your turn, they don't get you the ball. So it comes down to me, like, the reason I would want the Ayuk side is I'd rather have a second than a third. Like, it's almost like that ridiculous to me in my mind. Like, I mean, I feel like Ayuk and Higbee are really close. And I mean, Alberto doesn't even matter to me. It's almost like I'd cut him, or, I don't know if he could even get a third. But that second feels like that's the bonus. And but if you have one tight end, then I guess, or you have a tight end on bye. I guess I understand you got to give up something to get something. I mean, it didn't make this. I made a stupid trade on Sunday. I traded Jacoby Myers for Zach Moss, and then Zach Moss didn't play, and I was just looking for a running back. I had no running back to start. I ended up starting the Zorhath guy, the pullback from the Chargers last night, because I needed a running back so bad. So, I mean, sometimes you have to overpay to get what you need. So I get the trade in that respect, but I guess I'd rather have the Ayuk side just based on the higher draft pick. But it's all marginal in my mind, so it's all the same. And then our final trade. I say our final trade, but did I have the same one? Well, I guess we have two. I don't know what happened to my other one, so we're gonna just kind of call it at two. But we did mention what did you think? I know you saw the trade that went down with Zach Moss and for Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. I was like, why?
So in that particular league, the commissioner says you must start somebody, and so you had to pick up by 3 a.m. East Coast time, and it was after 3 a.m. East Coast time, and I forget who I had started, but they were ruled out. So I went and I was like, okay, who can I get really cheap? I'm like, okay, Zach Moss, he's going to play. I went and got him. I traded Jacoby Myers. So I'm like, okay, I have to give up something. And he's a guy I'm not even playing today. So what the heck? I'll just trade him. And I traded Jacoby Myers. I tried to trade him for like 6 different running backs in the league. And the Zach Moss guy is the first guy that accepted it. And then he was ruled out like 10 minutes later. And I'm like, oh, that was freaking swell. So, yeah, I mean, it was great. But, I actually lost that week anyway, so it was just kind of stupid. But now 4-2 in there, but so I guess it wouldn't have mattered. I could have forfeited and would have been the same idea. But try to play fair, try to play by the rules, and so that's why I did that. So I guess that's our third trade. Looking over week 7, transition to week 7. This week we have a Thursday game, 7 early on the Sunday slate, 4 late on the Sunday slate, a Sunday night, a Monday night. The important thing for your lineups this week, the Bills, the Rams, the Vikings, the Eagles, all on bye. I also kind of put on our notes that I wanted to update you guys on the scores, and I did this on purpose because after week 7, after next week, we're going to kind of have our midweek standings, and then we're going to re-rank our top 2. Each of us are going to kind of give our updated top 2 list and see how that differs from before the season to what we think now. But we were scoring 7 points if we got the top scorer in either the Elite 8 or the Clownhead Series, 7 points. And if we had them in the 2 spot in their division, then we gave it 5 points. If we just had them in first place and they weren't the top scorer, but they were the top in their division, we gave 3 points. And if we had them in the 2 spot and they were the top scorer, we gave them 1 point. And so leading in for the year, or through 6 weeks, I'm in the lead with 85 points. Brad in second place with 69 points, and Justin in third place with 47 points. I've led the way 3 weeks, week 1, week 2, week 6. Justin led the way in week 4, and Brad in week 3 and week 5. So let's see, Justin, can you beat me out in week 7 and get on the board twice and tie Brad, being the top scoring person? So it ought to be, let's see, you have, you need Lagav Lun Up, Sports, well, we all have Sports Bag MD, but the Draft Guru, you need him in Division C. I was just looking there, okay. And then we have Jack Powers, Danny Nichols, Turkleton, Shippa, and Zeke are your people. And then Jim's Instant Karma, Jack Powers, JSL, David Ryder, and Malahomes. So those are the people you're cheering for this week.
Exactly.
And, yeah, that's what you're after. So, we'll be seeing if you get the win. So this week you and I got 7 points for the Draft Guru in first place. So we were both but we're both there. So that got us each 7. So that was a good bump for us this week. Any parting thoughts that you have, and what's your outlook? You give me your outlook in the mid-season coming up.
Well, I'd like to encourage everyone to come let me take your money in our Clown Heads tournament daily over on DraftKings. A little behind in my bet in my daily ventures there, so need to make some money. So come on and let me take your money, or just continue taking mine. Either way.
Well, you took their money in the first week you were in, and now
Yep.
the last couple, I've kind of taken that third place. So you've been donating it back. You're trying to give it back. So you guys want to be
Exactly.
a part of that. We'd like to take your money because we think that you guys that are watching this, are going to listen to everything we say. And when you do, then you'll lose. So that's how that's going to work.
There you go. But yeah, that's hopefully I'll be able to pick up a few more wins there in my and Elite Eight and some of our Clown Heads ones, so I can hopefully at least not finish last.
That's the goal. That's what I'm trying to do,
Yes.
is not finish last. So for this week 6 in the rear view, looking on to week 7, our midweek point before the playoffs. Good luck, everybody. And for now, he's Justin, I'm Ed, and we'll see you next time.